Hey, what's going on, you guys? Running a few minutes late today. So we'll wait a little bit for a few people to jump in and then we'll begin the live from there. I was just kind of actually looking over my notes and all this lint that I have on my black t-shirt that I just noticed on the video here. So let's give it a minute or two for people to jump in and then we'll rock and roll from there. But today I wanted to cover how to create sustainable systems to make sure you could attend to your physical. Rendell, good to see you. Hey, Rendell, good to see you, man. Good chat the other day. We'll be covering sustainable systems today. On just the one thing, unfortunately, is just the human mind and body kind of depreciate quite quickly when not in use. So in order to really reap the benefits of living a health-conscious lifestyle, Lewis, good to see you. People have to re-engineer their lifestyle and their systems, and a lot of times their belief systems, to make it easy for them to attend their physical and mental and sometimes spiritual health goals. Because obviously, if you're just overwhelmed with work, you're working 60, 70-hour weeks, you're not that great at time managing, you don't have good automated systems in place for your health goals, you may be able to attend to them for like a 3-month transformation or a 4-month transformation program or whatever. But eventually it all falls apart. Alvin, good to see you. But eventually it all falls apart because it takes too much time to attend to, your workouts, your nutrition, your mental health, your sleep, etc., etc. And that's where people fall apart. And in fact, we're already, I think today's like February 8th. Keith, good to see you. Alvin, good to see you. Today's February 8th, and pretty much, I think the stat I saw was by the second week or third week of January, like pretty much 80% of people have given up to on their New Year's resolution goals, and I'm sure other goals like financial goals, relationship goals, et cetera, et cetera. And there are many reasons for that, but one of the biggest reasons is that I've seen is just people don't have sustainable systems in place. And it's not that they're not hardworking or stuff of that sort. Of course, some of them could be lazy and not hardworking, but just a lot of people don't know how to structure their goals so it doesn't take up a lot of time. And because of that, because their goals take up a lot of time, and because most people work a lot, and on top of that, a lot of people have families on the side, it all of a sudden becomes too overwhelming. And even if you could keep up with it, you're just so exhausted all the time. It just doesn't feel very pleasant. And that makes it less sustainable too, even from like an adrenal or central nervous system management perspective as well. So today we're going to cover how to use your time to help achieve your physical and mental health goals. But I'm going to kind of phrase it how to use your time to get out of a life of obesity, misery, medical drug dependence, and disease, because we cover that topic a lot on these lives. And it's important to be, Richard, good to see you, Keith as well. It's important to be, to kind of bring to light that although it's a little bit of a negative topic, that America has normalized mental and physical pathology and medical drug dependence to the nth degree. I mean, it's never been this normalized in human history, and it's just totally normal to be mentally and physically unwell and on a bunch of medical drugs as well in our culture. And it's unfortunate because there is still so much potential for the United States. And it's just sad to see people falling apart. And a lot of times, it is due to just lack of education. People think, because XYZ or it's like this person is using antidepressants, that means I could be using antidepressants. If like a person in a white coat gave it to me, that means they know best, et cetera, et cetera. But it's usually not the case. And these days, Americans are, more overweight, more sick, and more medically drugged out than ever before. In fact, the most medically drugged out people in all of human history, not even just in the world right now, just all of human history, period. But yet still remain just very sick, very unwell, very miserable. And of course, it's the weekend, it's Saturday. Literally, I'm pretty sure, Keith, you're in some state. Richard, you're in a different state. Alvin, you're in a different state. There are a few other people here. all of you guys are in different states. Literally go outside anywhere in America, and you will see that 9 out of 10 people you run into are full of obesity, misery, medical drug dependence, and disease. And although it's common, it's not normal at all. And it's good to bring light to that, so we come up with really good solutions. Randy, good to see you, because if obviously we keep going on this trajectory of like, oh, it's normal and everything's fine, then there's going to be no reason for change, right? But it's not normal, and no one, in all due honesty, grows up as like a little kid wishing that they're going to live that way. You know what I mean? They never envision that, but yet that's most people's reality. So today we're going to talk about how to use your time effectively to get out of a life of misery, obesity, and disease. And I'm going to try to give as much detail as possible, but also kind of condense it into about a 45-minute show here. So let's look at general time economics. And Randy, yep, good to see you as well. Let's look at general time economics and how much time everyone has available during the week. Because oftentimes I do hear people say, I don't have time to take care of myself. I don't have time to lose weight. Ironically, you don't even need to work out to lose weight. A lot of people don't know this. Darren, good to see you. You don't need to work out to lose weight. It is ideal, of course, that you train, but you don't have to. All you have to do is, especially if you take self-sabotage out of the equation, is pretty much change your diet. And change your diet in the sense of you want it to be conducive to fat loss or body recomposition or whatever your goal is. And you got to eat every day anyway, so might as well be the right foods, and you can still maintain a very, very lean body. So, for example, I mean, it's been a long time since I've been in Japan. I lived there for 2 months back in 2010, and fitness was not popular back then anywhere. Like, no one was literally working out, and yet everyone was very, very thin. And I'm pretty sure their metabolic health wasn't perfect, but it was probably pretty good. And in fact, probably well with most citizens without working out at all and just doing probably super, super basic exercise, even if at that. So let's look at your daily week. So in a week, we have 168 hours, right? Everyone does. I do, you do, Randy does, Darren does as well. So does Alvin, and everyone in this live does. Okay. So let's just say on average, people work 40 hours a week. So 40, 50 hours a week, whichever. Chris, good to see you. And let's say ideally, although most Americans are sleeping just 5.5 hours on average per day, but let's say ideally you're sleeping 8 hours per day. So that's 56 hours in a week that you're spending sleeping. And let's say no one does this again. No one ever does this anymore. But let's just say you do spend 15 hours a week with your friends and family or kids or whatever. So that's 15 hours, right? And then let's say you save 5 hours for errands, grocery store shopping or whatever. So the total amount of hours you used is about, let's just say, give or take 116 hours, depending on exactly how much you work and how much you sleep. And that means you're left with about 52 hours every single week, which equates to about 2 full days of free time and a few hours every week. Let's just say 2 full days of free time. So 2 days out of the week, you have 24 hours each one of those days of completely free time. So again, that's presuming you're working 40 hours a week, sleeping 8 hours a day, hanging out with friends and family 15 hours a week, running errands 5 hours a week. And you still have, even with all that, you still have 2 full days left of free time and spare change of hours. So the reason I'm bringing this up is the next question is, how much time do you really need to invest to optimize your aesthetics, your mental and physical health, your metabolic health, your hormonal health, et cetera, et cetera? And I would say on average, and this is to optimize, I mean, doing extremely well. You're not going to be an Olympic athlete with this for sure, but you'll look amazing. You'll feel great. Your metabolic health will be great. Your hormonal health will be great, et cetera. You need about 10 hours. 10 hours every single week. And that's going to be broken down into about like 5 hours of using movement as medicine, whatever that means to you. And 5 hours of things you have to do to support that physical exercise, like going to the grocery store, cooking your meals, maybe napping throughout the day from time to time, taking hot baths maybe once or twice a week to help the muscle tissue recover a lot better and to help your central nervous system recover as well, et cetera, et cetera. So you need about 10 hours. So let's just say ideally you look your best, you're feeling your best. I mean, you're spending that 10 hours on training yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, etc. You're working 40 hours a week, sleeping 8 hours a day, still hanging out with friends and family 15 hours a week, still running errands. You still have, even with all that, you still have like 41 hours, let's just say 40 hours, just round it to an even number, 40 hours of free time every single week, week after week after week after week, 40 hours of free time. So a lot of times when I do hear people say, like, I don't have time, that's why I'm like overweight, or I need to be on these medical drugs, or like I feel fatigued, I just don't have time to take care of myself. And with 20 years of coaching, and I've actually been in the health and field industry for like 39 years already, honestly, directly and indirectly, I've almost never seen that be the case. There's like a handful of times where I did coach extremely busy business owners or executives of very large companies that were working like 80-hour weeks during certain portions of the year when things didn't go well with the business or something, and they just needed to really go into overdrive and take care of a lot of stuff. And then for sure, 80 hours a week, it becomes difficult because not only are you limited on the quantity of time, you're also limited on your energy because you're quite exhausted. So even if you do have a few extra hours of free time here and there, you usually can't do anything but just try your best to rest just to get back into work really quick the very next day, okay? But for pretty much everyone else, like literally 99% of people, when I hear them say, I don't have the time, most always it's Freddie, good to see you. Lisa, good to see you as well. Tim. Rossalino. Let me know if I pronounced that correctly. That name, sometimes names are a little tough for me. English is a second language here. So, but most always when people say, I don't have time to take care of myself, it's really part of a bigger belief system issue. And it's moreover, a lot of times, just an excuse that people use to not take responsibility and take action. Because sometimes needing to take responsibility to change is quite stressful. And a lot of people try to avoid that stress by creating an excuse, because an excuse provides a very quick way out, that quick stress relief. And it does feel really good in the moment of like, I can't do this. I don't have the money for this or whatever. I don't have XYZ. I don't have time to take care of myself. And it quickly shuts down your brain from coming up with a solution, which could be a tough solution to come up with some cases. Okay. So it provides short-term stress relief, but in the sense, it still keeps you stuck where you don't want to be. In the reference point of our conversation here in the life of obesity, misery, medical drug dependence, and disease. But it could be with anything, with finances, with career goals, et cetera, et cetera. Excuses are most always used just as a way to provide an escape, from taking responsibility and avoid the stress of that responsibility and taking accountability, et cetera, et cetera. So most always it is that. From time to time, although it's a lot more rare, it does happen, people a lot of times need coaching on how to manage their schedule better and how to have time management systems as well, and be more conscious of how they're economizing their time too. Like, where are those hours going? Because where your hours are going also tells me to where your core priorities are currently, for better or worse. Sometimes they aren't your core priorities, but you're allocating them to there anyways. So like working 40 hours at a job you don't like, that may not be your core priority, but that's where it's headed. Either way, So there are a myriad of things you can do. And it always comes down to, are you really ready for honest change? To make an honest change? Because if you're not, then nothing I'm going to tell you here, and no amount of books you're going to read or coaching you're going to hire, is going to help you make the change, because you're just going to end up creating excuses to keep kind of the status quo. So all these tips that I'm covering here will only work if you're ready to create that honest change in your life, okay? They're easy to understand. These tips are going to be very easy to understand. In fact, like a 5-year-old child can probably, I can give this to them, they can probably make a presentation on it in class. But it's important to understand that understanding this at an intellectual level means nothing. It's about applying this information in the real world in a country that does not facilitate health conscious choices. That's where the magic really happens. And even a lot of people on this live here, you're going to listen to these tips and you're like, yeah, I get it. I know you get it. But are you actually doing these things? That's the question. And more importantly, because the human body and mind, again, depreciate quite quickly without use, more importantly, are you doing this very, very, very consistently? That is the key. Consistency is king with anything health related, spiritual, mental, physical, etc. Consistency is king. Without that, you may have short-lived success for sure, but medium and long-term for sure, there's going to be failure and plateaus and discouragement, because if you don't get positive reinforcement, like you're training and you're still not looking good or the way you want to look, then that's going to deter you from continuing the journey. You know what I mean? So you need those results there as well. It can't just be effortless, like imagine going to work without getting paid. How long are you going to do that for? Probably not that long. So first one, and this is so easy, and anyone can do this, anyone. All of these things are such huge life upgrades and will free up your time a gargantuous amount that you could actually allocate to things that are really going to help you add quality to your life and fulfillment as well, whatever that means to you personally. But first and foremost, and I know everyone knows this already, I know, but just no one is doing it. That's the problem. Or almost nobody's doing it. No absolutes, of course. Is pretty much eliminating your social media. And I know that means you guys aren't probably going to see my lives as much, and that's okay, because I know you guys are going to be having a tremendous amount of free time, which you could allocate to sleeping more, so you feel more well-rested, you look more well-rested, your skin looks great, to spending more time with your loved ones, to spending more time working out. Imagine how great you guys would feel if you spent like 2 hours a day, 5 days a week training. You know how great you would look and how great you would feel. And just by how great you would look, how great that would make you feel as well. So social media, hands down. Stefan, Esteban, Saad, good to see you. Social media, hands down, the average person is spending about 20 hours a week, minimum, on social media every single week. And I challenge you guys, look at your phone right now and go to the settings and see how much time you're spending on each app. And you will see it's a minimum of 20 hours per week. For a lot of people, it's going to be way more, 30, 40, 50 hours. I've had clients that would spend 67 hours a day cumulatively on social media, okay? And for what? Like nothing. It provides really no absolute value to your life whatsoever, and oftentimes is just used as a tool to dissociate, most of the times from just the lifestyle people don't want to be in, so it kind of provides them short-term relief to kind of unplug, So one of you guys, just go ahead and check right now, and please message in the comments section like how many hours it says that you're spending on social media. So let's see, I've done this with many people, and they always grossly underestimate how much time they spend on social media. People would tell me like, oh, I probably spend 5 hours or 10 hours a week on it. And we look at their stats and it's like 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week sometimes. And it's nuts, dude. And it's like most of the time, pretty much all the time, is just like mindless entertainment with you're watching people that are, for the most part, very narcissistic, like billion filters. All the fitness guys, for the most part, are on steroids and drugs. trying to maintain these unrealistic images, and then somehow they're supposed to be a good role model for our kids and youth, and et cetera, et cetera. And you guys are spending time watching these kind of goofballs, okay? And I would rather you allocate that time to, again, sleeping more, take up some books, read like 10 pages every night. That's like 2 books a month. That's already 24 books a year. Imagine how much knowledge that gives you. Every time you sit down with a good author, it's basically like fast tracking your knowledge. That author most likely had to spend 10, 15, 20 years of hard, intense research to put that book together. And you get to read it in like 2 weeks. Let's say you're reading 10 pages a day. And you get to accumulate that information and then have it benefit your life, Like I spent for my second book, really realistically, many, many years learning from my grandmother first, but then also here in the States, particularly studying about American agriculture. I mean, I went down to coaching just like 15 hours a week so I can spend the difference of time at different regenerative farms, biodynamic farms, interviewing various industry experts from a myriad of fields like the FDA, Carrie Balcom from American Grass-Fed Association. I worked, for almost a year and a half with Frank Fitzpatrick at the number5barbeef.com. It's a regenerative 100% grass-fed beef operation in Orange County area. Happy Dash Hens, etc., etc. Started my own backyard farm that I eventually worked up to even to 2 to 3 pounds of beyond organic produce every single day. And you guys, that took me like 5 years, and you could read that book. It's like 90-page book with a bunch of video content in like a day. And you could accumulate that information and fast track your journey that way, and I would rather you guys be doing that than spending it on social media, even if it means you guys don't see my content as often, and that's okay. All right. So again, I challenge you guys, Ronald, Gabriel, I challenge you guys, just check your phone. I promise you, if you check your phone, you will see minimum, please prove me wrong, but minimum of 20 hours a week on social media, okay? And if you eliminate that, imagine what you can do with 20 extra hours now and how much less stress and anxiety you'll have because you'll have so much more time to do everything else. So that way you don't feel rushed either, okay? Another big one too is try to eliminate watching the news, okay? The news, look at it this way, okay? Like, what do we got today? What do we got going on in the world today? I don't really follow the news, but just the big topics are like, okay, we have that war in Ukraine, right? Or Israel. All right, cool. Like, are you going to go volunteer in Ukraine and fight? Or are you going to contribute to it somehow? Or Israel or whatever? If you're not, what does it matter? You know what I mean? Especially if like you feel you have work to do in your own life still. You know what I mean? So like, let's say you want to lose weight or you want to get off your high blood pressure medication or you want to spend more time with loved ones or be able to sleep more so you feel more well rested. Okay, like why are you focusing on, or even catch up on your finances? The average American has about like $800 in their bank account saved up, So like, why are you focusing on Ukraine and Israel? You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go volunteer there. You're not going to run for political office. Just the knowledge is pointless and doesn't benefit you in any way, especially if you don't have a lot of basic foundational things set in your life yet. So if you're like, like overweight or unhealthy, have poor metabolic health, let's say high blood pressure, high resting blood glucose levels, high triglycerides, like low HDL or very high LDL or very low testosterone, or your finances aren't great. Like, you need to focus on that first. All of your energy, all of your free energy needs to be focused on ironing those things out first, okay? Because that sets like the basic foundation to your life, you know what I mean? And if your foundation is broken at that level, you're not going to have a quality life. That's it. I mean, it's just literally that simple. So you got to ask yourself, like, what is going to benefit me? Watching about, you know, Ukraine or Palestine or that whoever won office ABC, or allocating my free time to, dude, I need to get in shape. I need to get my finances on point. I need to stop spending so much time on social media. I need to get way more better sleep. You know, I need to spend more time with my loved ones and be more present with them instead of on like stupid social media or the news, you know? And don't worry about who won what. Trump won or whoever else was running against him. I don't even follow any politics. Americans have been miserable, full of misery, obesity, medical drug dependence, and disease for the last 50 years, regardless of who is in office, okay? So it doesn't matter. They're going to continue to be that way because they're focused on all the wrong shit, you know? So use your free time, you got plenty of it, to rebuild your foundation, okay? And focus on what you can do with your life. And you be the change you want to see in the world too, you know? And you got way more than enough time. Trust me, okay? Way more than enough time. So no more of this excuse, I don't have time. Just, you got to stop, especially if you're like 35 or 40 plus, you got to stop. You know what I mean? It's not helping you whatsoever. And it's just keeping you in this kind of quicksand of short-term reliefs, you know, at the expense of long-term satisfaction and happiness. It just needs to stop. So another thing you guys can do, and it's not available for everybody, of course, but if it's available for you, try to, you know, talk your boss into, or if you work for yourself, try to talk yourself then into either working fully remote or having some kind of hybrid system, okay? Because of course, it depends on your commute times and stuff of that sort. But let's just say, on average, you spend like 30 minutes driving to work one day and 30 minutes driving back from work every single day, okay? All right, so that adds up. That's like an hour a day, so that's 5 hours a week. So remember, we said 5 hours is required to optimize your training schedule. You need about 5 hours a week, like 4 to 5 good workouts, okay? So there you go. Those are your workouts just right there, you know? I know it's not available for everyone, but for those that it is available to, that's something to consider because that could save you a lot of time. And it also puts less wear and tear on your central nervous system. So, you know, like driving to work, driving back from work, it adds a little bit more fatigue to your body, you know? So if you eliminate that, you'll have more energy for yourself. And then on top of that, you have, let's say, 30 or 40 more minutes to sleep in a little bit more if you really need it. And those, you know, 30, 40 minutes more per day or a few times a week, sprinkled throughout the week, make a huge difference in terms of your aging and your energy levels throughout the week as well. Huge difference, although they're very, very minor changes, okay? And then there's also the aspect of like working in person is a bit more exhausting most of the time too. Because you got to work with various personalities and they're fluctuating, you know what I mean? And et cetera, et cetera. And then just driving on the freeway is quite stressful on the central nervous system. And that all has a toll on your level of energy throughout the week as well. Okay, so all these things have to be factored in. But that's another huge hack. So let's just say hypothetically you eliminated social media. You literally did the extreme and just got a flip phone, okay? You can still make calls, you can still text message, but that's all you can do on that phone. So instantly, pretty much, you freed up 20 hours in your week, probably even more, okay? Let's say you got rid of news as well. Let's say on the low end, 5 hours. So now you have 25 hours of free time every single week, 25 hours. And again, like I mentioned, to optimize your mental, physical, aesthetic goals, spiritual goals, you need about 10 hours a week, okay? But now you all of a sudden have 25 hours of free time. So twice the amount of time you need to optimize your appearance, look your best, feel your best, etc. So just with those two quick fixes. And we haven't even moved on to remote work. Let's say with remote work, you save another 5 hours because you don't have to drive. Okay, now you're at 30 hours of free time So you're almost at a full-time job, 40 hours being full-time job. You're 75% there of free time available to you. Now, what do you think would benefit your life more? Spending more time on social media, watching the news, or looking your best, feeling your best, getting more sleep, not feeling rushed or having a more free schedule. Thus, you don't feel rushed or anxious. Thus, your anxiety goes down. Because for a lot of people, it's just they're very anxious because the central nervous system hasn't evolved to function to always be on the go. You know what I mean? But imagine you all of a sudden now you got rid of social media, so that's 20 hours a week. You got rid of the news, that's 5 extra hours a week of free time. And you're working remote, that's 5 more hours of free time. Now you don't have to rush anywhere. You got plenty of time. Like, I really like having a slow morning. So I wake up, let's say at like 6:30ish, and I quickly throw, I measure out my rice and my vegetables and I throw them in the rice cooker, right? And then while it's doing that, I'm just kind of sitting and drinking some organic tea. I kind of gave up on coffee quite a while back. And I just like to sit there for like 30 minutes or so and wake up before I head to the gym. You know what I mean? So it's about like a good hour between waking up and then starting to head to the gym. You know what I mean? And then I like to spend about 2 hours at the gym. I hated when I was working crazy hours because I didn't know any better in my youth. And I just thought that's just what you need to do to be an adult. I always hated feeling rushed during my workouts. Like, I would try to get them in the morning, but then I would have to get up extra early, then rush, etc., or get them in at lunch, then have to rush even again. And I just didn't like that because I love spending time at the gym, and I like to not feel rushed doing that, okay? So a lot of times when you feel rushed, you got to go here, 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 and be a very like task manager oriented person and have your schedule super packed. That's going to be really tough on the central nervous system and make you very anxious. Increase your anxiety actually quite a bit. Maybe not in the beginning, but if you keep living that kind of lifestyle, you will see it will catch up to you. So another thing you can do is just have much better systems in place that could help you as well. So automated systems. So for example, like I just told you, when I wake up, I throw, let's say, 2 cups of long grain or short grain brown rice, raw, in a rice cooker. And then I put 2 cups of mixed organic vegetables. It could be mushrooms and other non-starchy vegetables, whatever. And I throw it in there. I put some spices in there as well. And then I let it cook. All right. I actually have my green tea already brewed cold the day before, so I don't even have to brew it the morning of. And then I start drinking it. I go to the gym. I get back from the gym. I eat about 1.5 to 2 pounds of meat per day. So I put that on a metal tray with parchment paper and put that meat there and throw it in the oven. Then while I'm taking a shower, all that meat is cooking. And then I get out. The meat is done. The rice is already done. I just put it in 3 glass Tupperware containers. I eat the first one right away and then save the other 2 for later on in the day. By using parchment paper, you don't even have to clean the tray, so it saves you even more time there. And by having 3 glass Tupperware containers, it saves you a lot of cleanup time. And also because I'm not like cooking on the stove, there's a tremendous amount of time saved because you don't need to clean anything up either. So you're saving a good, let's just say on the safe side, like 3 hours, 4 hours a week. Let's just say 3 hours on the low end. So check this out. By implementing just that one system, by getting rid of social media, getting rid of the news, applying for remote work, you are now at 33 hours of free time every single week, 33 hours. And again, all you need is 10 hours to look your best, to feel your best, to do continued education, etc., etc. 10 hours, but now you all of a sudden have 33 hours. This is why, you guys, when I hear people say, I don't have the time, it's total bogus. It's just a cop-out. It's not true. They do have the time. There's just something else going on to make them believe that kind of story. It's part of a grander like what I like to refer to as a normalized mind virus in our culture, okay? A mind virus is basically a set of belief systems that an individual holds that doesn't facilitate their mental or physical health, or that leads rather more appropriately to behaviors that deteriorate their mental and physical health over time. So this is a mind virus, and what we're covering here is a part of that mind virus, because looking at it this way is not part of it, okay? That kind of was phrased weird, but you guys know what I'm saying. So David is asking, yeah, David, it's very simple. I eat elk, deer, wild boar, grass-fed and grass-finished beef and bison, and wild fish. That's literally it. From time to time, I do have pasture-raised chicken as well. And that's it. And you guys, I do eat an omnivore diet, okay? That's just the protein sources I have, but I have perfect metabolic health. My total test levels are still at like 900 to 1100 without any, I'm lifelong steroid and hormone free, okay? Almost like 40 years old. The average 20-year-old these days, early 20-year-old, is hovering around 5 to 600, and I'm at 900 and like twice their age. Let's say 1,000 and twice their age. Okay. So, and I would argue, you guys, if you guys are healthy, I've gotten many clients just naturally by getting them to live like human beings again to like 700 or 800 nanograms per deciliter for total test, even in their 60s. Okay, 700 or 800 just naturally. And that's what they would bring you up at if you even did testosterone replacement therapy. That's the kind of standard to bring you up to 800 nanograms per deciliter. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again, even with guys in their 40s, 50s, 60s, just by getting them to live like human beings again and not even focus on the symptom of low testosterone. You know, just focus on what are the behaviors that the person is doing that is leading to the low testosterone. And trust me, you guys, it's not genetics. Maybe one out of every few thousand cases can claim that, but all the other ones, it's not genetics. It's just, unfortunately, there's just a mind virus present in the person, and you need to identify the aspects of that mind virus and change it or get rid of it. Because unless you change the person that's causing the disease persists. It should be no mystery there, okay? So having systems in place is key. Another thing is personal preference. Tim, good to see you. Ezra, good to see you as well. Another thing, and this is personal preference and philosophy towards life, so you got to determine if it's right for you personally, but I like living a very minimalist lifestyle, okay? From my experience, and I've seen this with a lot of people, maybe not everyone, is once your biological needs are met, materialism really has no lasting effect on your happiness after that point. So of course, you need a house, right? Or some kind of safe shelter, you know? I would argue in the US, you probably need a car as well. You know what I mean? Some people would argue that point with me in the minimalist community. And you need some basic clothing, you know what I mean? And stuff of this sort. So that materialism for sure is essential because it's essential for the survival of your biology. But then after that is met, there's really no lasting benefit for materialism. And in fact, it will just provide you with sugar highs at best. Some of them may be very potent sugar highs, you know, but that's it. You know, it kind of provides you happiness and then it subsides and disappears and you're kind of back to square one, basically. But unfortunately, a lot of the money you spent and time you spent trying to acquire that is gone, right? And then a lot of times you just felt, most people, not everyone, is felt feeling more empty than ever, you know what I mean? And there's so many times you can do that before you start catching on like, hey, you know, more buying and purchasing stuff isn't really going to do it for me. And same thing with kind of eating out. You know, the average American spends, you know, $8,000 to $16,000 a year. Definitely no lower than $8,000 a year on non-essential expenses. And all these non-essential expenses really don't do anything to add quality to the person's life long term, right? So people spend a tremendous amount of money eating out. It's like a 300% markup on every meal you eat out. And Most of the time, they're just using seed oils and shitty, like factory farmed or industrially grown food. And then you're eating that and it makes you gain weight. Then you feel bad about that. But then you also lost the money and it really didn't contribute anything to your life in the grand scheme of things. And it probably causes gut issues for you as well. All these things. People don't kind of think it through, but they just throw their money at it left and right. Their hard-earned money that took time to make too. And they don't think twice about it. And then they turn around and say, oh, I don't have money for organic food. Or even with this whole egg thing, like, oh, $8 for a carton is too much. I'm like, dude, you just spent like $8 on a Frappuccino. That's like 90 grams of sugar and like shitty coffee, or whatever they put in there these days. How come you're not questioning that? Again, normalized pathology in our culture, like mental and physical illness. That's why they're not questioning it, because although it's common, you see people like this all the time. Again, you guys, it's not normal at all. It's like mental sickness to the nth degree. And we have to start being conscious about this and putting it in the spotlight, or we'll just keep continuing down this unsustainable path because everyone thinks this is normal, but it's totally not normal, you guys, where 9 out of 10 people in America are metabolically ill. And the number one reason for personal bankruptcies in America are medical expenses, with 85% of personal bankruptcies happening because of medical expenses, okay? So not normal at all. But think about it, a minimalist lifestyle, it's up to you to decide. But that could help actually free up your time a lot, because you have way less cleaning, way less clutter in your house too. So it helps your environment reinforce a more free mind, okay? And it's just way cheaper at the end of the day. So you might be able to retire a lot earlier, or just work part-time altogether, because you don't have to have a lot of money to buy all this kind of shit that most always doesn't do anything for anyone anyways, except provide sugar highs at best. So, okay. So I gave you guys like a lot of great tips. Now, at the end of the day, just as a reinforcer, unless you're ready for honest change and ready to stop normalizing mental and physical illness, all this stuff will just go in one ear and out the other and will not be applied at all. And I know for a lot of you, you're going to hear a lot of these tips and go like, oh, I get it. And I'm reinforcing this because I said it earlier in the show. I know you get it, but are you actually doing these things? And with 9 out of 10 Americans being metabolically sick, I'd say, no, you're not doing it. You're not doing it. And that's why you're continuing to have these health challenges and needing a myriad of medical drugs, which all have side effects. I mean, they all have those side effects listed on the chart. And whenever you take a very potent medical drug in one area that's supposed to affect one human system in the human body, all systems of the human body are affected because they're all interconnected. And good luck finding a researcher that is honest with you, that will tell you what happens during this cascade of this cascade of events of when one system is affected. It does have a cascade of effects on all the other systems. And how does it change all the other systems? Basically, nobody knows for certain, okay? But one thing I do know for certain is symptom management healthcare is clearly not working, all right? America is once again more medically drugged out than ever, but yet the sickest humans in all of human history. And it's been like this already for a few decades, and it's only getting worse. So clearly something's not working with the symptom management model of healthcare, okay? Another thing to consider too is we talked a lot about freeing up time, but another thing to consider, and I'll actually cover this on another live, is freeing up a lot of your energy. Sometimes you may have time remaining, but you're just dead tired, And that goes more into central nervous system management. I covered that quite extensively. If you go down on my feed, and you'll see a video that's titled Stress and Fat Gain or something of that sort, and I would check that out. And that would help you understand how to enhance your energy and how to ideally go about your day and about your life and environment that facilitates how the central nervous system has evolved to function. That's important too, okay? because it basically hasn't changed in over 200,000 years, but the environment has changed a tremendous amount. So it's all about, the magic really happens is all about once you kind of learn about how the central nervous system has ideally evolved to function, and then get your environment to replicate that evolution, and that's it. And I would just recommend, especially not listen to all these, like, especially business gurus that are like, oh, don't sleep, work crazy hours. All you need is a positive mindset, be able to reframe the negative into the positive. Take an honest look at these guys and you will see they all look very haggard and fatigued. And they pretty much all look many, many years older than they actually are. A bunch are on a whole bunch of drugs, a lot of like cocaine maybe. Definitely a lot of juiced out business gurus out there with all their steroids and needles. And they're just being sustained and held up through synthetic means. You just take that away, and even that, they're still not looking good. But even you take those synthetics out, and you will see they fall apart like house of cards, man. Able to be washed away by just the wind. So be careful who you listen to, too, because sick people can't make healthy decisions, or they wouldn't be sick themselves. It's very simple. You know what I mean? And if you're listening to sick people and their advice, don't be surprised if you become sick yourself. You know what I mean? It's probably what's going to happen. And a lot of times, the messages that are the best for you to hear and they're most sustainable aren't the most marketable. Because especially in the social media realm, to be marketable, you have to be catchy. You got to stand out. But the magic in health and wellness is in the mundane. And that's it, That's where the magic happens, and stuff like this. That's not so catchy. That's not so clickbaity. You know what I mean? But this is where the success actually happens. Mastering the material at this level, which is all easy to understand intellectually, but good luck applying this stuff in a world that does not facilitate health conscious choices. Okay? And that is where the magic happens. And if you can't, then you will not have good results. I've been doing this again professionally for 20 years and in the field indirectly and directly for 39 years. You will not. I don't care how many supplements you take, how many medical drugs you're on, how many steroids you're doing, how many books you read or courses you've taken. If you don't master it at this basic level, which sets the foundation of everything, it doesn't matter the quality of the house you try to build on top of it. You're not going to succeed. And you can see a lot of these like fasting experts, biohacking experts, they look terrible. They look terrible. That's because their stuff just isn't working, all that gimmicky, markety stuff. It doesn't work, you guys. It doesn't work. It's just in the basics, okay? So try to get rid of the noise, try to go back to common sense, and really master the basics. Really master it, day in and day out, 7 days a week. And you will slowly start living like a human being again and stop living a life of normalized mental and physical pathology. That's it. And the good thing is, with this system, the ceiling is quite low. The barrier to entry is quite low. Literally anyone can do this. Did I list anything on here that requires you to have like $1 million or an elaborate laboratory or whatever, some kind of secret family? No, literally anyone can do anything I just mentioned here, and it will improve the quality of their life, okay? But it only works, again, if you are ready to stop living a life of mental and physical illness. That's it. And if you're not, if you're honestly not, then none of this stuff will work. And you will continue to live that way and get worse year after year after year after year. That's it. So wishing you guys, David is in the house, Dilo, I saw a few other people who jumped in, Nick as well. If you guys have any questions, happy to answer it, but I'm going to cut it. That's it, I gave you guys enough tools. At this point, if you're not able to use them and utilize them, there's definitely some type of mental block. There's some kind of benefit for you to stay mentally and physically sick in your mind. Some type of benefit that you keep telling yourself. Because if there wasn't, you would find a way out of it, And I'm giving you the tools here that are, again, free, that actually work, and accessible to everyone and easy to understand, you know? So at this point, it's up to you guys, okay? All right, you guys. So have a good weekend and take care.